On December 18th, 2000, the 30th volume of the Detective Conan manga was officially released. In the countdown to the new century, that man appeared in front of readers for the first time, the first generation boss of the Black Organization, Karasumarenya. With the huge legacy he inherited from his parents, he established a transnational criminal organization. Nearly 22 years have passed since then, and we still know very little about this character. Among the 33 named members of the organization who appeared, there were 7 traitors, 8 undercover agents, and the only few informations we learned was pretty much the same as 19 years ago, that person's email address. Here, should I be impressed by the Black Organization's well-done secrecy work, or the author's ability to water down the plot? It was not until, finally, a similar character appeared in the latest manga chapter. An old man with a crow's face is seen with an oxygen mask. The driver, like the driver of the rum suspect, habitually drives with sunglasses on. Other than that dark shadow, there are several very mysterious places in this manga chapter. If I guess correctly, there will be at least 2 new characters within the Black Organization that will appear in the near future, and one of them will be an undercover agent. It looks like my list will be updated soon. As more anime episodes and movies come out, I imagine this list will fill up sooner or later, and the top dark shadow will be revealed, with Tokiwa Isaku as the most likely candidate for this position. Regarding this guess, I had this conjecture a long time ago, but at that time, I just suspected that he was just an ordinary member of the Black Organization. The episode in which he appears, Jin leads his squad to assassinate a man named Domon Yasuteru, one of the biggest candidates for the council, and his rival is Tokiwa Isaku. So I suspect that Jin's action this time is an action taken to successfully allow a member of the organization to infiltrate a high level within the Japanese government. Then, after the 3 rum suspects appeared, I doubted that he was the real rum, because there were 2 rum suspects with the same time-related names as Tokiwa Isaku. The Japanese name Tokiwa means time and eternity. Those 3 rum suspects are all smoke bombs arranged by the author, and Tokiwa is the real rum, which was my previous conclusion. However, Tokiwa Isaku has only appeared once in the current plot, and a character who has no foreshadowing suddenly appearing to tell readers, "Hey, I am the real rum," will not be accepted by them. So I put Tokiwa as the last mysterious position, and realized that a lot of the plot could be connected if Tokiwa was that person. The first is what the cousins Sherry and Rai said, that if Conan continued to have the police track down that person's email address, they might discover an unimaginable person. Rai asked Bourbon, in his role as a Japanese police agent, to investigate the origin of the gun that Kusuda Rikumichi used, and told him that Bourbon is better suited for the task than himself. Combining these 2 clues, plus why Sherry doesn't know Rum's identity, but seems to know that person's identity, may likely be tied to that person's position in the organization. If the boss himself is the research director of the ABTX 4869 drug, then it can be explained. When the author was interviewed in 2006, he said that the name of the Black Organization's boss had already appeared. To fit these kinds of clues, that person's image must be high-ranking within the Japanese government, have some ties to the military, be knowledgeable in pharmacology, and must have their name in the manga before 2006. While in Detective Conan, only Tokiwa Isaku, the pharmaceutical professor, can match at least 3 or more settings. But this brings up an even bigger mystery. Is that person and Karasumarenya really the same person? What Gosho said during the interviews was very ambiguous, and there are several different ways of understanding, such as this time, does this boss refer to the first boss or the current boss? If you were referring to the first boss, then he had already appeared in the Vermifark. The image of the old man with the crow face that appeared in the manga really cannot be linked with Tokiwa Isaku. How could someone who needs a respirator be running for a legislature? Are you saying it's possible that the bosses of the Black Organization act in multiples? Some are unable to debut on the surface stage due to physical problems and secretly operates in the organization, while the others issues orders from the outside. After all, we still don't know anything about the system of electing the boss. Whether the position of the next boss is determined according to the level of contribution, or the previous boss will cultivate his own heir. In the former case, Jin is definitely the most powerful candidate, and in the latter case, Vermouth is the most likely. But with the advent of Rum, the first possibility becomes much lower. Considering the size of the organization, that person's degree of prudence is the most likely form of inheritance for the boss's campaign system. The former boss will pass on his position to a person he trusts before he dies, and he will supervise the research process of the APTX 4869 drug in an attempt to prolong his life, and the new boss will enter the high-level government. In this way, strictly speaking, there can be multiple bosses within the Black Organization. The old man with a crow face and the meaning of the existence of Tokiwa Isaku can be explained. These assumptions are based on the fact that Karasuma Renya has passed away, and the drugs for rejuvenation or revival have not been 100% successful. They dare not to use them lightly. By the way, the author said that the boss of the Black Organization has no alcohol codename, and the only two names for him are boss or that person. At the same time, many people have always speculated that Professor Agasa is the boss. The author has tried to clarify with these suspicions several times, even adding a clip at the end of the Vermouth Arc's climax, a dual mystery on a full moon night, where Agasa is helping Conan with monitoring, but it didn't seem to work. Since we're talking about the alcohol codenames, many viewers must not know what these codenames are based on. This is actually very simple. The author said that the codenames of the male members are basically composed of liquors or spirits, while the female members are named after fermented alcohol beverages or integrated alcoholic beverages. If you're unfamiliar with these terms, then remember that the alcohol names that represent the men contain a lot of ethanol, and the alcohol content is at least 20% without sugar, and it tastes harder. It represents the spiritus in Grand Blue, the oolong tea that can be used to support combustion. The alcohol content of the beverages that represent women is not so high, and it belongs to the fruity wine that tastes sweeter. This can further highlight the mystery and charm of those female members of the Black Organization. After being divided into two categories, mainly according to their gender, they had to be screened again, having several partners be put into one category. It's like rye, bourbon, and scotch, who were on the whiskey team, and all three turned out to be undercovers. Although the person named after Irish whiskey in the movie was not an undercover agent, he still betrayed the organization in the end. Hondo Ethan's codename is also likely to be whiskey-based. So if the next time a Black Organization group member's codename has something to do with whiskey, then they can basically be defaulted to being a traitor or an undercover. However, this rule is only aimed at whiskey, and there is not enough proof that it has any relationship with other alcoholic beverages, like Pisco, Calvados, and Corn, who all belong to brandy. Two of them are already dead, and if Corn were to die too, then brandy would mean death within the organization. Sherry and Chianti are both pure wines, but their personalities and work have absolutely nothing in common. Other than these two codename rules, that person will also give them codenames according to their personal preferences, abilities, or characteristics. Rye likes to drink whiskeys such as bourbon and scotch, and Curacao has blue, orange, and colorless colors that symbolize her eyes and her color grapheme synesthesia. Sometimes rum would be considered Curacao for business purposes, implying that Curacao is rum's subordinate in the movie. Rum got the codename of Rum, the favorite drink of pirates, because one eye is a prosthetic eye, and he often covers up one eye like a pirate. By the same analogy, the origins of the three codenames, Vermouth, Gin, and Vodka, is the relationship between them. Vermouth and Gin were once lovers and would make martini together, whereas if Vermouth and Vodka were to mix up, you would get Vodka Martini. That person probably saw them together a lot and gave them these codenames. The last rule of the codenames are based on nationality. Stout is a drink from London, England, which is also a place where he was killed. Aquavit is from the Nordic countries, and Aquavit's nationality is Canadian, similar to a Nordic country. The same goes for Riesling. To put it bluntly, this last rule is for those who only debut for a few minutes, as long as the origin of the alcohol and the nationality of the members can match. However, these four rules are not as easy to use as imagined. When Rum first debuted, I tried to use these rules to analyze Rum's gender and personality, but I found that the answers I got were both analogous. Rum is a kind of spirit that is also made from sugarcane juice, which is very sweet as the brewing material, also being very consistent with the rumors of Rum's gender in the organization. The idea of guessing a member's personality by the taste of alcohol is a bit like horoscope divination, since most of the wines that have appeared are very famous ones. Even the same alcoholic beverages has several different branches, as many countries have different recipes. For example, adding some fruit and sugar in front of gin can change its taste into slow gin. Who knows which recipe the author used to determine the member's personality when he designed this character. In addition, although there are 33 members, these account for only the members whose names have appeared. If you want to add those nameless members who have appeared, but whose names are not listed, then this list is far from enough. For example, there are several members in Sherry's research lab, and the name of the undercover agents in The Great Detective Turned Small does not appear. When Sherry went to Kuro Shinichi's house to investigate, she was also accompanied by several people in black. When Kier met Jean in the parking lot or around the subway station where Vodka and Itakura traded, they were being watched by members of the Black Organization. Miyano Akemi had been watched by other members of the group for 25 years of her life. In the climax of the rum arc, Jin also ordered the diving team in the organization to investigate whether Camel drowned. There were also 2 drivers who helped Rum drive, and the 2 men who helped Rumov catch Mary. In the movie, there are also several group members who look like ninjas that set bombs on the Twin Towers. The organization in the game will also have special members run the auction and special drivers to greet the guests at the real auction venue. In the special manga, there are also many treasure hunters organized around the world. In The Mysteries of World Heritage, there are 2 men who are interested in the prestigious Spear of Longinus in Switzerland, but their actions were stopped by Kogoro. The 2 of them were imprisoned and eventually killed by the organization. From debut to death, their names have never appeared. Not only anime, games, and special manga, there is also an unnamed group member in Detective Conan's TV series. I call him Drama Assassin. He was ordered by Jin to kill Sherry, but his knife was lost during the mission. In order to prevent the police from identifying the assassin through the knife, Jin directly executed this failure. In addition to these known members of the organization, there are many suspected members of the organization in Detective Conan, like Wakasa Rumi, the only one of the 3 rum suspects that have yet to be identified. But based on our death list with the ABTX 4869 drug, it seems likely that she was part of the group. One other possibility could be that Nomiguchi Shigehiko is the politician who was killed by Pisco. The police found that he was suspected of taking bribes, and the organization eliminated him before the police formally investigated him, proper with the organization's logic. There is also Tokiwa Eisaku, one of the Black Organization boss suspects just mentioned. In addition to these official members and suspects, there are many people used by the organization, such as Itakura Suguru, to help the organization research software that will harm all of humanity, or the woman in the Shinkansen's bomb case who dealt with gin and vodka. Jin planned to destroy her along with the Shinkansen. Hirota Kenzo, Hirota Akira, Anime Original Kishi, and Kaizuko Shiro, these 4 people, cooperated with Miyano Akemi to rob 1 billion yen, but they were silenced by the organization like Akemi was. Hideyaki Nakajima, who traded with tequila, the werewolf at the Vermouth party, the victim of the bank robbery impersonated by Bourbon, etc. These are all people who were used by the organization. If these characters were to be counted, then this list is completely insufficient. However, these are only a small part of the Black Organization. If you count the people related to the Black Organization, regardless of whether they are cadres or members at the bottom, then the entire organization will have at least 100,000 members, while each of their cadres has more strength than the elites of other intelligence investigation organizations. For example, Vodka, who I have always looked down on, knows how to properly operate a helicopter. Senior cadres have the ability to easily play with other intelligence organizations. It is almost impossible to bring them down in one go, unless the national government acts as a whole. So, is the Black Organization dead? Nope, they're just getting started.